Hey everyone, this is a really quick demo of the Pod2 Validator, which is a QC tool for ARIES databases. So what that basically means is that it's a tool that has a bunch of QC checks built into it that run directly on your ARIES inputs. And so that includes things like your expense lines, your production lines, your price lines, and anything else referenced from economics, including lookup tables and side files. So I'll give you a really quick demo of how it works and how you can work with the results. So the very first step is to pick a data source. So I'll use the ARIES DB data source, and then you click connect. Next, we'll pick a project, scenario, and input setting that we want to validate. So I'll use the Eagleford project here, the post audit scenario, and the set data input setting, and then click validate. When we click validate, it actually opens up the ARIES database and runs all the QC checks. And then it gives us this summary that shows how many issues it found. So we could see in this project we had 706 wells, and on those wells it found 47 errors and 16 warnings. So errors are the more critical issues that we probably want to resolve right away, and warnings are the more nuanced ones where it could be okay, but somebody would have to take a second look at it for sure. You can see the categories of errors and warnings here, and we'll go through a few of these just to see how it works. If you want to see which wells are affected by a particular issue, you can just click on the category here. So if I click on unknown start date, I can see exactly which wells have that issue. One is grouped here. If I jump back to that summary though, and I just want to see the complete list of all the warnings and errors, I can also do that by clicking on the show all validation results here. And when I do that, you can see I have all the 16 warnings and 47 errors in this list. So let's go through a few of the checks that are built into the validator. So the first one here is about phase has history, but no forecast. And so what that means is we had monthly water history here, but we didn't actually have a forecast for water. And so that could be intentional if the water rate's really low or we don't expect to produce any more water in the future. But where it's really relevant is especially in A&D workflows. So like in this database, we have a water expense line. So by not forecasting water here, we actually impact the overall well economics. It's also relevant if you're really trying to plan out water capacity and takeaway and things like that. So in that case, it makes a big difference when we're missing water forecasts. And generally these tend to be systemic. So it's not just this one well that has this issue, but maybe 50 wells. And then it really starts to impact either economics or takeaway. So that's the history check. Let's look at another check. So in this one, it's basically telling us we have oil gas ratio line, but it didn't see a gas forecast line prior to that ratio line. So if you've ever hit this in ARIES before, what basically happens in this case is that we get 0 oil in our results, which is almost never what you intended to do. So we'll flag that here and let you know so you can jump back into this well in ARIES and fix that. So either reordering the lines, or if the gas line is just missing, then inserting that missing gas line. So let's jump to another check. So this one's pretty interesting. So looking at the line, you can't tell really what's wrong with this, but it does have an issue. And the issue is that the decline rate has the wrong sign, is what's telling us. And so what actually happened in this case is we can solve all the unknown parameters. So looking at the prior segment, we can determine that the final rate was actually 12.4. And that 12.4, because we have an X here, we're going to use that 12.4 as the initial rate for this segment. And so that's a problem now, because we have 12.4 here, and our final rate is 15. So we're trying to decline up to final rate of 15 because we have a positive decline rate. So that doesn't really make any sense, right? So we'd either want to reforecast this segment or maybe change the final rate so that it's less than 12.4, or make the final rate unknown and use a different cutoff. But either way, how it's currently set up, ARIES will skip over the segment, which is not what you intended to do. So let's jump to another check. So on this one, we have this PDP well, and it has a phase oil that has a start date of January 2022, but the framework's effective date is actually January of 2021. So we have a year-long gap where we don't have production for a PDP well. So usually that's not intentional, and we either need to change the framework effective date or change the forecast start date for oil. But either way, it's something that we would probably want to fix. So we'll flag that. I'm not going to go down through all the checks here, but there's a complete list of checks on our website if you're interested. And we also cover other sections, not just production. Like I mentioned earlier, we do all of the other sections, and you can even see one of the examples for ownership here. So that's all for my demo. Thanks for watching.